Bears Super Bowl win in 1986 is what most Bears fans talk about and remember, but a new book would argue that their NFL championship win in 1963 deserves its own recognition. That season is when legendary owner and coach George Halas developed the Bears into one of the greatest teams of the pre-Super Bowl era. Sports historian Charles Billington dives into it all in his book, The 1963 Chicago Bears, George Halas, and the road to the NFL championship. And Chuck joins us now. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So what was so special? I mean, it would be hard for any Bears fan to imagine there's another team that even compares to the 85-86 Bears. What is it about that team in 63 that you think is so special?
Many football experts think that the 63 Bears defense was probably one of the top, if not the top, defenses in the pre-Super Bowl era. This was a team that over a 14-game season allowed an average of 10 points per game. They had a turnover ratio, in other words, a number of turnovers they caused compared to the number they had of plus 29.
Jeez.
They had 36 interceptions in a 14-game season, and they had several players who eventually, of course, would be in the Hall of Fame. George Halas was the head coach and owner of the Bears then. He was 68 years old, which was about the life expectancy for somebody born in 1890s and 1963.
Wow.
And it was kind of his last hurrah as a coach. They hadn't won a championship since 1946. They were in a championship game in 1956 and got slaughtered by the Giants. So the Giants' championship game in 63 was very much a retribution for him. He gets credit for being the owner and the coach of that championship team, but the team was really the construct and was put together by a man named George Allen, who reached even greater fame with other teams. But Allen was responsible for 14 of the 22 starters on the 63 Bears.
A word that's used today in sports is chemistry. Was there a particular personality of that team or anything remarkable about a chemistry of that team, of those players?
It was a good mix of younger players that Allen procured and also veterans that had been with the Bears for years. The veterans were individuals like Rick Caceres, Bill George. Bill George is in the Hall of Fame. Stan Jones, who's in the Hall of Fame. Doug Atkins, who was the largest player in pro football at the time, 6'8.5" and 270 pounds. An amazing athlete who could broad jump his height from a standing broad jump. So the Bears also had several members of that defense that were on the all-decade team. The team, for the most part, really, let me just say, enjoyed life. And they were very much the bon vivants and the roustabouts of Chicago at the time, with the exception of their quarterback, Bill Wade, who was a very smart, very precise athlete. In his later years, Wade went on to be one of the founders of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes.
Wow.
Huh.
And I just think about the difference this would have been. This is right before the TV era took over, right?
Well, actually, in 1963 is when the big TV money finally came into the league. The CBS gave a contract to the NFL and NBC to the competing AFL. The CBS contract for the NFL meant that before they sold a ticket, every team had $2 million in their coffers, which was probably 4 times the payroll of the entire team.
You mentioned George Halas, who was, 68 the year they won that championship. And you would think at 68, that would have been it for him. He would have gone on and rode off into the sunset, but that wasn't the case.
No. One of the things I point out in the book that came through research from other books and newspapers at the time is Halas was extremely, extremely eager to catch and surpass a younger coach who had taken over the league, Vince Lombardi. Lombardi was a man in his early 50s. Halas, oldest coach in football. Lombardi won title after title. Lombardi treated players differently than Halas did. Halas said, okay, now we have to win 3 championships without, of course, mentioning Lombardi's name. Vince Lombardi, in some ways, became George Halas's white whale.
And what about gambling at this time? Did that have much impact on the sport and the team?
Gambling raised its head publicly for the first time since the 1940s in 1962 and 1963, when Alex Karras and Paul Hornung were suspended indefinitely for gambling and admitting in gambling in the games. However, the investigation included about 30 other players, and it started with the Bears.
Wow.
When George Halas was suspicious of things that their great fullback, Rick Caceres, had been doing. Caceres was cleared. Horning and Karras eventually became suspended. Without Karras, the Lions were not much of contenders against the Bears, and his absence was one of the big reasons for the Bears' success.
Wow. Well, the book is the 1963 Chicago Bears, George Halas and the Road to the NFL Championship. And Chuck will be speaking February 27th at Three Crowns Park in Evanston. Thanks for being with
Thanks,
us.
Chuck.
Nice to meet
Thank you.
Good to meet you.
Thank you. Have a good weekend.
You
I
too.
appreciate it.